Hi, this is Pete Lyons with Let's Play Salesforce, and in tonight's Einstein Analytics video, we're going to be talking about XMD, or Extended Metadata. So before we're ready to dive right in, I do actually need to do a little bit of cleanup to this data set. So part of one of the things that XMD can do is it can change field value labels. So I've got this awesome example of a custom sort that I've covered a couple of different times on this channel that we were going to dig into a little bit further. But before I can do that, I just have this crap field in my data set that is really just polluting everything. It's just, it's garbage in, it's garbage out. We've got a poo emoji for the title. I mean, what kind of crap field is this that has a poo emoji for the title? So we're going to hop over to the data manager and we're going to go into the offending data flow and clean up this stinker. Yep, there it is. There's the offending field. And we're just going to delete it. Go ahead, hit save, propagate, update, and run. I'm sure nothing bad could possibly come from what I just did. I mean, all I did was delete a field from the data set. We're just cleaning up the trash. No biggie dealy. All right, so it looks like that worked. So I'm going to hop back over to my dashboard. We're going to bring this over to a new tab. Oh, what happened? All the numbers are back on the stage names. Now it looks like this chart with the crap field is erroring out because unknown ID token, it doesn't have the field in the data set anymore. That makes sense. I mean, a couple of years ago it would have actually just crashed the whole dashboard. Really nice that we did move past that and that it just says, oh, okay, well, we can't do anything here. But I'm going to check my email real quick and see if maybe that has some insights. So this seems like it might be able to explain something. Looks like one or more datasets has an XMD that have failed validation. The DTC enriched found dimension in user XMD not present in system XMD. The crap field was in the XMD, and that would make sense because we did have that custom coloring on it. But I got rid of it. Why did that break everything? Well, simple, because I didn't go to my XMD and remove all references to it. So let's see what we can do to restore that. I'm just going to try to add it back real quick, see if that helps. I'm going to add a new field. All right, I'm sure this isn't too bad. It's not like I'll have to throw the video away and start over. I'm just going to run my data flow. I mean, it could be worse. This could be production. And then I'm just going to keep calm, and I'm going to spam the refresh button a lot. All right, so the data flow did finish. We've got the original version of the dashboard here. If I reload my tab, this is going away, but let's see if it comes back now that okay. The numbers are still there. We've still got a poo emoji, but the custom colors reset. So I added the field back, but it looks like my XMD still broke. What else can we do to try and fix this? Okay, so I'm going to go to all items. I'm going to look at the data set, and let's take a look at what's actually going on in here, because it looks like we do still have some problems. So when I edit my data set, this is how I'm going to get to my XMD, or extended metadata. Now, I could try restoring the data set to a previous version. So for example, I could even show older versions. I can try to roll back to one of these, see if potentially this one was uncorrupted. But I can assure you that that's not actually going to work, because the problem lies in the extended metadata that is associated with the data set, not the data set itself. So I'm going to open this XMD up and show you what we're looking at here. So I've hopped over to JSON lint because I would like this formatted nicely, and I'm going to validate it. That will clean it up for me. So I can see here that this is my dimension with the custom colors here for the garbage in, garbage out on my crap field here. And if we go down through, this is what's actually causing the problem here. And we're not going to be able to fix our XMD until that has been cleaned up. So I'm going to get rid of that, just delete the line entirely, and then I'm going to copy this back to my XMD file and upload it again. Now, if I did also want to permanently remove that crap field, I would need to remove the references to it here. Unfortunately, current state, there is no way to do this through the UI. you are going to have to do it manually. So that would be under this, we have to get rid of the conditional formatting for it. We have to get rid of all references to the field entirely. But we're not going to do that because we did add it back. For the purposes of demonstration, we're just going to upload our corrected XMD. So now that I've uploaded the updated XMD, if I reload, we should get our colors back. So we see the numbers dropped off here, and there we see our beautiful poop emoji colors. This is one of the few cases where I'm like, man, I really wish I could have colored the title on here, but we only get the choices of black and white. But yeah, hopping back, we do see that these numbers have now cleared up. So it's all fun and games until somebody craps on your parade and breaks your XMD in production, and then suddenly none of your custom labeling works. So that is how you're going to go about actually making that correction. So it's really important from a design perspective. The XMD really needs to be later in dataset design. You want to make sure that the list of fields that are going to appear in the dataset are finalized before you go modifying the XMD, especially around fields that may or may not be removed. So let's talk a little bit about what the XMD is and how we can work with it. So if I full screen this and I explore, I'm going to do it on the other page just because that's fun. So I'm going to hop over here, and if I full screen this guy and I explore, I love this. It's just a UTF-8 text character. I can go over to fields right here, and this is a UI that allows me to interact with the majority of the XMD functionality. So again, this is extended metadata. It covers everything from relabeling fields to, well, let's just dive in and take a look. So for example, if I wanted to get rid of this underscore, I could just click here, delete the underscore, and that's going to relabel the field. The way that I was able to do the custom colors was I went to the edit values section, and this is where I was able to choose colors for this. Unfortunately, it is only going to work with values that are found within the data currently. So let's say maybe you have a future state where we just spun up analytics, we just spun up everything, we only have a few values in the field, but we expect it to grow over time. If we wanted to add additional values that are not present in the data set currently, we would need to download the XMD and add those manually. Then again, going back to here, some other things that we can do is we can see a good example of changing values. If we go into that stage, these are the API values. This is what's actually getting pulled into analytics, and this is just a relabel of that. So it's a common issue that people will find that if they relabel pick list values, it's very common in the opportunity stage object. Analytics is actually going to pull the value and not the label. So we do have the ability to go through here and actually change what these labels are. That's how I was able to get rid of the numbers. But it still sorts based on the API name. So that's how back on our dashboard, if we hop over to here, that's how we have everything sorted in the order that we actually want them, even though this is not alphabetically sorted at all. Is this? I don't know. This might actually be wrong. I'm not positive. What is our sort order here? But anyway, yeah, so we can control sort orders by appending numbers to the beginning of a field, and yeah, okay. We can change the sort order of things by appending numbers to the beginning of a field and relabeling them afterwards so that we can get things in non-alphabetical sort. I've got a couple of videos covering this. Other things that we can do with the XMD is we can add derived dimensions and measures. So this is for like if you're doing a bucketing field but you're doing it in SACWL, or if you're pulling a field from a different data set and relabeling it in SACWL, or whatever you want. The same is going to be true for derived measures. If you want to have custom numerical formatting on numbers that are just, it's a column that you created with a compare table, that's going to need to go under the derived measure section. So let's say that you create a field in the compare table, call it my measure. Then you can pick a numerical format for that. You can even change the label of it, and you can do whatever you want with it. Other things that you can do here, in addition to the numerical formatting options, is there's also this thing called Multiplier, which is really cool. It literally just multiplies by a number. So there's some interesting hacks that we can do with this. There's not a ton of use cases for this around. The number one use case that I've encountered that I've used it for is manipulating percentages, which may or may not come through as how you want them. Maybe you want them to go 0 to 100 and they go 0 to 1, or vice versa. You can use this multiplier field to compensate for that. I've also sometimes done things like little hacks, like use a -1 to reverse the order. But one thing that's important is if you do modify this multiplier field, if you don't actually put a format in here, even if it's just, you know, hash, 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 then that modification to the multiplier is not going to stick. There's a few other things that end up in our XMD. We can also do things like set the default fields that appear in a values table. Otherwise, it's just going to kind of randomly, willy-nilly pick what's basically listed right here. We can also control the action framework through the XMD. So for example, if I was to go back to that data set that we were exploring just a minute ago, and we go to edit it, right here, one of these buttons does it. I can never find it. There we go. Configure actions. So all the different stuff that we can do with the action framework, where, like, you know, we would say, oh, on account name, you know, my record ID field is going to be like account ID, and then I want you to do these Salesforce things, or maybe I want you to open a URL, and if you know, it's got multiple if it's got multiple rows per row because I'm grouping by account, but I've got a data set of opportunities. These are the fields about the opportunity I want you to let me pick from. We can go to alternative Salesforce orgs, but we would have to pass in the org ID. We can link to a specific URL, and then this is where we're going to control which Salesforce actions we do. It needs to know which object, but then it'll actually give you some really granular options as far as, like, you know, new task, log a call. Maybe I want to show log a call, but I don't want to show new task. Action framework is, in my opinion, one of the killer differentiators that really takes Einstein Analytics over the top. And all of this is governed over by the XMD. Now, if we go to Workbench, you're actually going to find that there are 3 different XMDs for every data set, and that they are going to be tied with individual data set versions. There is the main XMD, the system XMD, and the user XMD. What we've been exploring tonight is all about the user XMD, but behind that is also a main and a system, which are very, very similar, but the system XMD is what it was checking against that said, oh, well, this field doesn't exist. And that XMD, you can't just download that and use it to restore your main XMD, because it contains a number of parameters that are not really relevant. It's actually a combination of your XMD and your schema file. So it's going to tell you things like the fully qualified name, the actual source path that the field came from. It's also going to have things in it like fiscal offset, first day of the week, all sorts of extra parameters that will break if you put them into the user XMD. So that's really all we have to cover on this. You know, word for the wise, unless you want to have a crappy day, don't remove fields from your data flow without first making sure that they're not going to negatively impact your XMD. And if your XMD does break because of this, don't spend hours and hours rebuilding all of that hard work. Add the field back to the data flow first. Then you restore your XMD by deleting the error message. A really, really easy way to get rid of that field without having to modify the actual JSON file itself is just going to be to go to that crap field and hide it. Sweep that turd right under the rug. So we'll go ahead and click save. Now, the field is still in our data set, but our users can explore for it all day long. They're never going to see it. You know, it's not even... Okay, well, this is because the dashboard needs to be reloaded, but I assure you, that's not mine. I didn't do it. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, tell a friend. And as always, thanks for watching.